maybe now is a good time to go into the private consultations that people that may follow up after the weekend. So someone attends the weekend and they just say, wow, I've just had this incredible revelation. I want to experience this on a deeper level.
Yeah.
So you schedule private time with these people. Explain a little bit about what the process is. Is there any work that you do beforehand with the person, or do you just go in there and kind of just let it unfold?
I obviously speak to the person and see what it is they want, whether it's what aspect of life they want to address or change, or what is not working. And of course, every aspect, all the 9 areas of life are interconnected, and they're connected back into the Tai Chi. In other words, our inner being, our inner house. So I will always address the person integratively, holistically, rather than just the bit they're asking about, because everything is connected. And the same with the house. I would look at every aspect of the house. So depending on what is needed, then that would be the main focus. And it could be financial, it could be relationships, and they're usually the most common issues that people have, of course. Or it may be that people are trying to sell a house, or they can't find a house. And so it will be a different focus depending on what the need is. But whatever the need is, that is what is addressed, and it's usually a very full day working with people. And some people find it strange that I say, but you must be there because it's about you. And I have in the past been asked, well, can you just go and do it and I'll see you in the evening and have a cup of tea? But no, this is about your life, your home, and your house is reflecting that. So we're going to work very intensely together. And often people will feed back that it's like doing a year of psychotherapy, and it is. And the difference with somebody going out and getting healing or counseling or psychotherapy of some kind is that that's all very well and good. But when you come back home, what happens is the program that is running in the house will have been set there from the past, often before you've arrived there, before you've come to live there, will have a correlation to your life. So when you come back home after a day or a session of healing, the house is still running the pattern that you left that morning. And so it's going to say, hey, come back. I don't recognize you. Let's reset you to where you left this morning. And so all the good work that you've done, the therapist has done, actually gets degraded, and only a small part of it is left of any value. So the difference, and why it's so powerful to work the two together, is I'm addressing the person and the house, the person and the house, and so on, side by side, step by step. And by the end of the day, both sets of patterns, beliefs, subconscious programs that are running in the person and the house are addressed at the same time. And that is why such incredible transformation happens very, very quickly.
Can you give an example of actually what you do while you're in the house to create this transformation? Or is that like this magic you can't share with us?
I spend a lot of time speaking with the person to get the history and to feel the energy of where they're coming from and what the issues are. And sometimes it could be an hour, a couple of hours, sometimes 3 hours, just really talking. But it's not just talking to get information. That talking allows the person to unravel the issues, to take the covers off, and so that I can see layer by layer what is actually happening in their life now and where it might have created issues in early lifetime, and possibly even previous lifetimes or parallel lifetimes, however you want to look at that. And so that talking period is not just taking history, but actually unpacking the life story, unpacking the energetic matrix, ready for it to unfold. And during that process, revelations happen. And what I'd like to do is to get the person to what I call the aha moment. And when somebody gets that moment, and that happens through the talking as well as the later process of walking around the house and doing other stuff. But that aha moment, that real realization, that nemesis point of why the issue has been created, is really the beginning of the unfolding of transformation. And the person still has a choice at that point of saying, this is too deep a thing, I don't really want to address this, it's too painful. Of course, any transformation is going to have that pain, that release, but that's what's needed to let go of something that has been stuck in the past and just needs to, move on. And by recognizing that, often that is all that needs to be done. One doesn't have to then go through years of psychotherapy to deal with that issue. Of course, sometimes, that there is deeper stuff that does need addressing. But when the light of consciousness is shone on something that's been hidden in the deep subconscious, in the shadow, that's often all it needs, just to say, allow it just to disperse. And that is extraordinary when that happens. And by the end of a day, people realize, okay, well, I didn't want to move house, or I didn't want to leave my husband or partner. I actually do love him, and I do love the house. I'm going to stay. Yeah, because there have been so many overlays over the years. We kind of forget the essence of why we move somewhere, which is a relationship with house, the soul of the house, or why we met a person and moved in with them, and you kind of like fall in love again.
Wow, that's beautiful. I would imagine that many times it's not even the issue people think it is, because it's an underlying. They may come and tell you, oh, I'm having, it's really not it. It's deeper level stuff. So, that's where the really interesting work comes in, is that it's really, it's not what people think on the surface. It's much deeper than that. And that's basically what you just described.
Absolutely. People describe to me the symptoms of, rather than what the issue is. And the process I work with people is to very quickly get them to what the core issues, where that program has been locked in, the belief. There's no rights or wrong, it's just what happens in life. And it gives you opportunity to look at it and say, hey, this is a crazy belief system. It's actually not mine, it's my parents or grandparents. And so that is an aspect I look at, is the ancestral line, that timeline, and it can go back many generations. And there's many examples and stories on my website and in my book that describe the ancestral connection and how that locks people into current time, but actually they're living in the past generation, and it doesn't give them the opportunity to live their life fully now in the present moment.
I think it's important for people to understand that you also don't tell people to move. That's not what this is about. This is not the remedy of, oh my God, you have to get out of this house. It's possessed. It's got all kinds of. I think it's important for people to understand that that's not one of the solutions.
Absolutely, because when people have a problem, they think, well, the fix is, let's walk away from it. Let's get away. Let's sell the house. But in fact, in all my 20 years of working in this way, and of course it develops year by year, and I've just the other week topped 1,200 consultations of this kind. So, and not in any one of those have I ever said to anybody to move. Because if you say that to somebody, it means you've given up. You've not addressed the issue of why they're there. And it's very much the same with the concept of space clearing, which is often understood as, let's just get rid of the bad energy. There is no such thing as bad energy, negative energy. It may not be appropriate or right or of value to you now, and it could be left over from the past, which it often is, but you've been attracted by it. And because you've been attracted to it by the law of attraction through resonance, it has a connection to your story. It may be part of your subconscious story, but there is a connection. So for somebody to come in and space clear and get rid of that evidence, what have you done? You've totally wasted an opportunity. And so for me, it's very important to read, first of all, to read what the story is that is lingering in the atmosphere, that is emanating from the walls, understand it, correlate it to the person, see where it links back in their timeline, in their ancestral connection, and then for that person to deal with it. I always work with the person for them to take responsibility. I don't clear or change anything other than facilitate it, because if the whole point is that a person takes that responsibility, and that's what gives it the power and that incredible transformation. And I've seen, what I would call miracles happen, within the day of working, if not days or weeks, following a consultation. So it's a very powerful process, not for the light-hearted, but for, that's what I'm here for. It's getting on with it, and it's not cleaning the dust off the surface. It's digging really deep, but in a very gentle, very sensitive way, very emotional way that I work with people. So it's quite safe, but it's not always comfortable.
Kind of a doctor who would just be treating the symptoms as opposed to finding the cause.
Yeah.
So what happens is, they give you some medication for something, they clear it up for a little while. If you don't find out what's causing it, it's going to manifest in some other part of the body, the illness. And that's kind of the same thing with what you're talking about. You can't just treat the symptom. You have to find out what's causing it.
Absolutely. And the thing about, if you just go out for a therapy session, a healing session, as I mentioned earlier, and you come back home, right, the house is not going to recognize you. It's got a vested interest because of its embedded program in actually getting you back to where you were before you left. So it's going to hold you, and it can take you years to achieve something at that rate. And so this is why, working the two in parallel, you're also getting to the absolute seed point, the core of whatever issue is causing the problem for that particular person. And by addressing that, as I say, even by just seeing it, that is often enough to just, allow it to go. I'm
really curious. Something just occurred to me. What happens, or have you heard of people, say, going back to a house they grew up in? Now, they've been gone for years, and they've obviously changed. They go back. Do they physically feel like this no longer is home or feels right? Have you had an experience with people going back and just they're no longer?
Yeah, there is always family connections, and it's quite a big subject, because when people leave home, it depends if they've actually really left, or if they've really still got their threads in. And I find that quite a lot, that when we do the visualization process in a workshop, and I say to people, go back to your home, some people just cannot go back to where they live. They go back to their childhood home.
Interesting.
Because that is where they felt safe and comforted and protected. And when you ask people, what is the concept of home? What do you want home for? It's to be protected. It's a safe space, and it's a sanctuary. And these things can get really eroded when we grow up, become adults, and have to get out into the world. And often that's not safe. And so we go back to our safe space, which is often our childhood home. Of course, some childhood homes and childhood experiences are really bad and quite horrendous, with abuse and so on. And people won't go back to that. They will go back to somewhere else. But all this is information that is of incredible value in showing us where we feel safe, where we feel truly at home. And ultimately, home is in the heart. It cannot be anywhere else. But if your heart is not at home, or the soul of the house, the heart of the home, is not embedded and feeling at home, you've got no chance of feeling safe, comforted, protected, or feeling at home.
Right, right. What a and wonderful way to wrap this up. So for more videos on Christian's work, go check out thehousewhisperer.tv. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.